This is a Clouds weather alert.
Meteorologist Casey Cloud back with you yet again here on this Sunday, on this Father's Day, for more severe weather potential across the area developing. You see that new yellow box here in the last few seconds popping on up toward areas there close toward Albany. That was popping up right at the very beginning of this stream here, and that warning goes until about 5:15. So I moved the map up just a little bit more here. Doherty, southeastern Randolph, southwestern Lee, northeastern Baker, northeastern Calhoun, and southern Terrell counties until 5:15 under a threat for some 60-mile-an-hour winds and penny-sized hail with a severe thunderstorm located near Morgan at 4:31, moving southeast at 40 miles an hour. So Morgan, Putney, Albany, Leary, East Albany, Turner City, the Marine Corps Logistics Base, Walker, Radium Springs, Restore Crossroads, Lockett Crossing, South Albany, Southwest Georgia Regional Airport, Palmyra, Holt, Ducker, over toward Clarks Mill and Bermuda under this warning as the storm there moves southeast at about 40 miles an hour. So looking at this one right now, you can see here as I zoom in a little bit tighter here in our software, we do have some wind sowing on up here that could be pretty significant in towards some of these areas in Calhoun, Calhoun County here. You can kind of see it as it tries to evolve on us there in toward that area over the last few scans. So it really evolving on us here as we're looking at some of our different Doppler algorithms. So we're going to keep our eyes on things there as I go ahead and try to make sure we're getting all the latest information. Of course, we have two other warnings popping up as well. And we have severe thunderstorm watch and Plato 6, which we'll dive into here in just a moment. The two other severe thunderstorm warnings here, these do have a history of some problems associated with them as we're looking back on off toward the west here. Let me go ahead and kind of look at some of this accent here as it starts to move in. It's starting to move in toward areas there on the east side of Columbia right now, in parts of Early County. Earlier on here in the timeline, we had a situation where there was a significant advisory for some of the accent further out ahead, but at this point, we're seeing the accent be pretty nasty there, though that could be out ahead, maybe trying to weaken the further behind accent a little. So we'll watch that here as we monitor that situation. And as we look down toward the south, a third area of severe weather concern. This one here showing some really strong winds entering in towards Seminole County right now. So things evolving pretty rapidly with all these warnings here for our areas being issued here in the last 15 to 20 minutes. So you can see here just what we're doing with, this what we're tracking here at this point in the timeline. Just trying to give you guys the very latest here to protect you, your friends, and your family. You can see there on just another day of severe weather, seventh day in a row of severe weather threats here across our region, or at least portions of it. And doing the latest track here, you can see the worst of this will be moving near Reynoldsville over the next little bit of the track, a couple of different areas here. So just trying to show you guys what's going on. I know they had a gust out toward Marianna there to 56 miles an hour on the weather sim station at the airport. And then further on out, we had some wind reports, even some wind damage there. In Adel County, they were reporting quite a few issues there. As I'm looking at some of our tools here in the Weather Center right now, just kind of checking back in the chat. I know one of the storylines there toward Dale County was just some problematic scenarios there where it looks like numerous trees and power lines were down in the community of Newton, Alabama. So just definitely having an impact here on this Sunday yet again, on this Father's Day, on this holiday weekend. Just we were hoping these storms wouldn't hold together as they moved on out to the east. I know it's been kind of a odd forecast here. Of course, a crazy pattern. It does continue, but let's just go ahead and kind of go on over right now to our other mode here as this crazy weather pattern does continue to evolve. Earlier on, it was looking like some more potent acts into the west. We had a gust to nearly 80 there around Destin, and then a situation here where we started to see some weakening, thinking maybe we wouldn't get extensions into our area. The models were on board with that ARRR I'm talking about specifically. And then unfortunately things have started to strengthen again, maybe because of the energy further out toward the east here. Looking at our temperatures, it's pretty warm out toward the east, and our surface phase Cape values here are enough in terms of these, really, when you haven't had the atmosphere tap today. is kind of untapped there for these storms to be able to strengthen and become a little more significant again, at least for a bit. Hopefully, eventually they'll fall apart some more as they continue across the region. But for now, anyway, they've had an uptick at this peak heat of the day. There's just enough of what was left with them to be able to kind of get their act back together. And now be potential problems here for the area. As you see, a slight risk of severe weather goes to about Moultrie, Thomasville, but then it goes to a marginal further off, and then there's a strong storm in northwestern Marion County as well. So we'll continue to watch anything that maybe pops up out ahead. But further back toward the west here is we have a severe thunderstorm watch input on 6 o'clock in this pink color. Severe thunderstorm warnings though continue. I know we have the northern polygon and we have the one in the center there. That's for southeastern Henry County, Alabama, northeastern Houston and southeastern Alabama, Miller County, southwestern Georgia, west central Baker, and southwestern Georgia. Early County there in that state, in the Peach State, and the northeastern Seminole as well, until about 5:15. At 4:21 at least, a severe thunderstorm is located near Columbia, or 9 miles east of Headland, moving southeast at 35 miles an hour. So we have Colquitt, Donaldsonville, Blakely, Headland, Columbia, Douglasville, Centerville, Gordon, Iron City, Damascus, Haleburg, Saffold, over toward Granbury, Crossroads, Mayhaw, Rock Hill, Pleasant Plains, under this threat. To get further down toward the south, I know we had that gust reported near severe limits in Mariana there, and severe thunderstorm warning up until 5:30 Eastern time. Southeastern Houston, eastern Jackson, northeastern Calhoun, Gadsden, north central Liberty, Decatur, and Seminole counties involved here. So Bainbridge, Midway, Quincy, Havana, Mariana, Donaldsonville, Greensboro, West Bainbridge, Chattahoochee, Malone, Snead, Gretna, Grand Ridge, Greenwood, Attapulgis, Iron City, Climax, Princeton, Bascom, Rock Bluff. You kind of get the idea. Some of those communities under that warning. And they're trying to turn a chat despite the relatively lackluster appearance of the storms in Jackson and Seminole counties right now. The velocity off of Tallahassee and off of EOX there, talking about the Fort Rucker radar site there. So still up near 60 miles an hour, about 3,500 feet above the ground. So again, just continuing to watch things here. I know we do have a small tornado threat here as we're looking, but this is going to be a wind threat first I'll start with because it's the higher one today. You have a hail threat here that kind of cuts off a little bit earlier on. Probably more about wind here unless we really get a core to evolve. I mean, some of these are kind of becoming more by themselves, so in theory that could increase the hail threat slightly. But then there's your tornado risk. It isn't too noteworthy here. But we'll watch to make sure we don't get anything to spin up on us, obviously, here in this type of situation. So we'll just continue to watch things. I know this pattern here, unfortunately, looking like now really going to continue into tomorrow here with maybe a little bit bigger risk than today. So we're going to make a day 8 here, I believe it would be, with these severe storms being a real threat toward our area. I'll go ahead and see our risk for tomorrow right now on the other source while we have a chance to do it. You can see this yellow area covering pretty much all of us under a slight 2 out of 5 risk. Looks like every zone here on our viewing circle is covered by that, in fact. So, and as we get toward that Tuesday, you can see there's a 1 out of 5 risk input again. We should, again, as I was alluding to yesterday, it may take a little longer, but get this to kind of cut off this pattern. But then we'll get moisture from the south coming in, and that would be, in some ways, maybe a little bit of good news. But now we got to preface it with the fact that we're seeing some more indications in our models that instead of this the moisture, which could be more rain, less severe weather, instead we could have more rain, but it could be in the form of maybe a, believe it or not, tropical storm. That's what some of our latest guidance is showing now. Nothing really like we're going to have to just dive into it real deep here at this point, but it was probably a weaker tropical storm, but one of our more reliable models is showing that here less than a week out, and it is conceivable because way earlier on in the month, we were seeing it really pick up on something and maybe turn into a hurricane. That would seem unlikely in that area at this point of the season, and that's not what we've been seeing. It hadn't been really showing that, and it's starting to show it again. So that could be something to watch here later in the week. We could have our B name storm, or believe it or not, it could be our C name storm because The storm further out in the Atlantic, we will be keeping our eyes on to some degree. We're not sure how far west it'll go at this point, but that could end up getting the name Brett. This next system could end up getting the name Cindy, but this is what we've been doing with for the last 7 days. There's nothing to do with the tropics here, so it doesn't take the tropical threats here to cause problems like what we've been dealing with here across our areas. Again, it's been just a crazy pattern. EF2 tornado in Early County on Wednesday, early Friday there, the EF1 around Perry, and I'm sure there's been others here. I know they've confirmed some more than just the ones I just listed off, but we've had some debris signatures. I don't think they've had a chance to send out full reports on it yet, but we'll kind of be looking for them as we get later on in the timeline, as they get a chance, maybe get a calm period, maybe for a day or something, to be able to get that data really aggregated. But so right now we have these severe thunderstorm warnings in play. Eventually they should kind of weaken out further on today to the east, you would think, based on just the overall setup. The models earlier on, after they started weakening, were having them fall apart before they reached our area, but unfortunately that's not the case here. It does seem like they're weakening again, though, some, but I know as we look ahead here, and the timeline, we'll just be watching the overall setups. I know out there toward Tulsa last night, we were on for a couple of hours because things really just took a turn for the worse. We were seeing winds on right at 100. I mean, actually, they were a little bit stronger than that. But the overall warnings were to that number, and that's what the reports were to as well. So just dramatic situations there. I mean, when we were at the lower heights, we were showing the winds close to about 100 then when we were right there close toward our radar site there on Gregory, Oklahoma. But again, just continuing to watch things here. You can see these are still strong winds. I know they were mentioning it here in the chat that the overall pattern just doesn't look all that impressive. You're wondering it's probably not producing, but actually it very well could be because of the history. We had a bunch of trees there, problems out toward areas in Alabama just a little while ago, and this is showing 1 to 56 right here on this pixel. This here, same deal. So on this Father's Day, having an impact here in Seminole County, it looks like. Just got to be cognizant. I know we're doing the best we can, but it's a one-man band, so if I start to lose my voice a little bit here as we look ahead, it's going to be because we've been talking for 7 days straight here like this, and we have, unfortunately, do have more to go. Hopefully today's coverage will be a little bit on the shorter side with the storms falling apart on us ultimately, but right now we got to track and we got to give you the latest to protect everybody out there. People want to enjoy that Father's Day, but right now we got to focus on the storminess. The worst of this, if it holds together, but moving there toward State Route 97, Georgia 97, and maybe over toward Georgia 302. I mean, it could be a little bit broader area than what I'm showing here. It could be this whole area here that has the potential to produce. So kind of have to track it toward Reynoldsville and out of Polgus as well. And then looking down toward the south, at this point, I mean, depending on the ultimate track, we may get some closer to Quincy or Havana, but or maybe Fort Mason, but right now it's not looking like it's extended quite as far down as where the warning goes, but we'll just have to keep watching. This warning here, west of Colquitt, I know earlier on stuff was a little bit more, the area to the north was more in one line. It's become broken apart. We had a line to the south that went down there toward the Gulf. Didn't get any warnings in the area for that. You can kind of see a marine warning on play there. We're looking up to Fort Rucker, so you can't see it as well, but warning the Gulf causing problems there. And then we have this third warning here around Morgan there in Calhoun County. That looks, let me check our storm motion. That looks pretty strong there. That's actually outside of the warning, believe it or not, but it's not quite so in a severe. So I know these winds were a little bit stronger when they were in Alabama just right before we came on, which is a little bit of a good sign here. They may be trying to weaken back down again, hopefully. Hopefully these storms will be able to kind of fizzle on us here and we'll have to stick with it for a whole big long while. But right now they just gave us an update that the warning does continue toward parts of Baker, Early, Miller, and Seminole counties in Georgia. They're about 5:15. So it's going to be this box up here. I know we'll kind of loop this around. You've already see if we go further back here. This stuff was really impressive there in toward Henry County. Outside of area, we were seeing 58-mile-an-hour pixels there. We were seeing the wind pixels in Jackson County at about 60. So that's why we're getting concerned here when we're getting damage back out toward areas in Dale County, numerous trees and power lines down in the community of Newton, so in Newton in Alabama. So Again, the current view does have our updates coming on in here. Just trimming back that warning out of Alabama. The one there, this goes to 5:15 for portions of Miller, Baker, Early, Miller, or try that again. Miller, Baker, Early, and Seminole counties here. Moving southeast about 35 miles an hour is that threat there. So we'll just continue to watch things here in the Weather Center, just trying to make sure we give you guys all the details you need in this type of setup. So again, right now, looking here, 50-mile-an-hour winds showing up. Just a situation here at this point, it's about getting the information out, even if I make a couple mistakes here and there, because it's been doing this for so long. It's all about getting that valuable weather information out to keep you guys safe and informed here, because you are on this Father's Day trying to enjoy that day, and this weather is proven to be an unfortunate disruption, and it's looking like for that Monday there, on that Juneteenth, we're going to have severe weather threats around again, maybe multiple rounds here, unfortunately. And we're just seeing, again, that slight risk of severe weather in play for all of our counties then. So the risk and the threats are just unrelenting, it would seem. But hopefully the pattern will ultimately shift on us, as we alluded to, but it could shift into a tropical storm setup for a bit. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But looking here, you can see Early County right now. This is showing winds of 50 miles an hour. So again, that warning goes. As I look at our current radar view, our view that you're more used to seeing, our reflectivity, that warning goes to 5:15. Again, Miller, Baker, Early, and Seminole counties. The warning in North, Doherty, Randolph, Lee, Baker, Calhoun, and Terrell to 5:15. And then as we look here toward the south, this one goes until about 5:30. For parts there. I know it goes in back in Alabama and Jackson County out of our area, but there's your new trim back polygon. Okay, they just canceled the warning. We got a couple updates just now into the chat session. So they just canceled out some different areas here that were underneath the warnings. So they canceled the warning up to the north. They don't think it's as strong as it was anymore. So that's good news, not getting the severe limits anymore. They don't think of the Weather Service out toward Calhoun County. So that's a positive sign, positive trend. Now we have down here this warning here toward Colquitt, that community, the community of Donaldsonville. As we loop things around again, you can kind of see how things have been trending on us here. This area here going to about 5:15, as we explained here. This one here got trimmed back though as well in the latest update. Continuing though for Jackson, it's that center area, but then Gaston, Decatur, and Seminole until 5:30. So Bainbridge, Midway, Quincy, Havana, Greensboro, West Bainbridge, Chattahoochee, Sneed, Gretna, Grand Ridge, Attapulgis, Climax, Juniper, Douglas City, Florence, Jameson, Recovery, Quincy Airport, and Sawdust under this. So not a lot of lightning, so hopefully this will be our next warning to go. But the winds are still maintaining for now. Still seeing winds here about 53 miles an hour showing up on our Doppler scans. So that's kind of the storyline there. This one to the north showing winds to about 50. So hopefully instead of 60, we're getting those trees to fall there in Alabama. We're getting down toward about 50, 55. So maybe these will be the last warnings we get. Earlier on, those things that weaken, then they re-strengthen. They were tapping in the environment as they kind of broke apart a bit here. So we were able to get a little bit more of that wind energy down to the surface. You can kind of see what we're talking about to some degree there as we're looking back off toward the west. Hopefully, though, today's rounds, or I guess to just say it, for our area around of this threat here should be hopefully on the lesser side. Let's go back on over toward the severe thunderstorm watch. That's in the pink. They just trimmed it back and canceled a bunch of counties, which is good. They did cancel out areas there in Alabama: Coffee, Dale, Geneva, Henry, Houston, and then in Florida, Bay, Calhoun, Gulf, Holmes, Jackson, Walden, and Washington, and in Georgia, Clay, Quitman, Randolph, and Terrell. But they're keeping this till 6. They didn't do a local time extension, which is good, or a local area extension. So maybe, again, not expecting it to go further toward the east with this overall threat in play. I mean, maybe a popcorn pop-up threat here or there, but The watch does continue until 6 for Franklin, Gaston, Leon, Liberty, Wakulla in Florida, Baker, Calhoun, Decatur, Doherty, Early, Grady, Lee, Miller, Mitchell, and Seminole in Georgia. So, again, I'm just trying to give you the latest. We're keeping that logo red here. Gonna have to keep it red through at least tomorrow here, and maybe even longer. I mean, there's gonna be a threat lingering on Tuesday. Again, later on, the pattern's gonna shift in a week at some point here, and then it could be a threat, obviously, from the tropics. If that's the case, we'll have to keep it red through the rest of the week here, and then maybe even the early part of next weekend if we have a named system headed our way. This has nothing to do with the tropics right now. It's just a pattern. We have a wintertime set up with the overall atmospheric pattern coming together with the energy of the summertime. But later on, we could have all of the warmer waters out there, maybe being taken advantage of a little bit, and we could see a tropical storm come on up here. Again, I don't want to talk about that too much because it's still really uncertain, but if nothing else, we're going to have tropical moisture from the tropics coming in to make it a wet forecast. So even if we don't get a name system, maybe in that case, it'd be more about just the moisture. There'd be some flooding potential, but maybe not as much. Hopefully, severe potential, we can hope. But obviously, if you get a tropical system, you always have to think about a spin up tornado risk. But we'll just continue to watch things, continue to track things here in the Weather Center. So, again, trying to give you guys the very latest here. Let me see what we might have on our other computer source for now. I'm going to go ahead and run a loop. Going to run a loop here on our other system, and I'll pop that back up in a moment. Let's check our power outage numbers, though, in the interim. Checking our power outage numbers right now. Florida, 10,535 customers in the dark according to PowerOutage.us. So considering there's a guest near 80 around Destin, that's not terrible compared to some of the numbers across the country. I mean, Escambia County only 1,389 customers in the dark. Santa Rosa County 5,250. Then Jackson County, just outside our area, 1,120. Liberty County in our area 1, Gadsden 9, Liberty. So Liberty 1, Gadsden 9, Leon 34, Wakulla 50. Some of that might just be lingering or something that's even unrelated to weather at this point with some of those. But just continuing to watch things here. I know in Georgia, there's 1,310 customers in the dark in the Peach State. And toward some of these counties here in southwest Georgia, I don't see too many customers here in the dark at this point, so that's good. Still kind of early on, but hopefully these winds are not reaching as much anymore. It'll be a good sign, a good thing for today's event. But I know in Texas and East Texas, they're still dealing with some problems. Northeast Texas, to be precise. That would be from your Friday morning wind event. We're into Sunday almost evening here on that Father's Day, and I mean, so many outages lingering, and they got heat problems out there. So obviously, it could really be dangerous with folks not having electric. There's still power outages where that tornado hit around Perryton there. We had the fatalities in the Texas Panhandle. That was back on Thursday evening there. So then later on in that Thursday, and then as we look at our maps further on, we have Louisiana over 100,000 customers in the dark. A lot of that wind coming on through early Friday toward the Arklatex and even the Arkla Mist. More so the Arklatex, with it looks like the wind and the power issues at this point. But looks like Caddo Parish still over 59,000 customers in the dark there. And then as we look toward Oklahoma, they were hit so hard we had to come on for a special report for almost 2 hours last night because of the wind was some of the strongest I've ever seen here outside of a tornadic situation, obviously, an EF3 plus tornadic situation. I mean, really headed toward a metro area. I mean, you just don't ever want to see what we were seeing last night with all that power outage threat coming into play. Just trees being knocked down everywhere, all over the place there. I mean, these winds were what you would constitute probably, I'll go to a hint Vegeta scale real quick as I explain this. I know I've seen this, you don't get anything worse unless there's an EF3 plus tornado in that setup. I mean, these winds are probably EF1, but it's just the idea of having these go into a metro area here. I mean, radar was showing some EF2 winds though. And then, I mean, as you compare this to the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, I don't have that one in here, but That would be so in Category 2 type winds like what you'd have with an eye wall. This was moving through a lot quicker, so it didn't stay around as much. But speaking of Tulsa's power outages, the numbers keep shifting because I think that some of the information not being able to be transmitted, but about half the customers in Tulsa in the dark at least. But the number seems like it keeps going up, going up. I mean, last night, even afterward, it was not near this high. So there's an issue, I think, with some of the tracking here. But it says at least 164,386 customers still in the dark from last night's storms here in Tulsa County out of 310,277. That's Parity.us. And then there's counties all over the place there with issues as well. But in total, 266,565 customers noted without power there in toward parts of Oklahoma. Okay, we're starting to see some more updates come on in on our local threats. I have our loop together, so let's go ahead and go there. Let's go to our loop. They're telling us here in the chat, says, and with both of the severe warm storms, they don't look impressive on reflectivity, but they still have velocities of 40 to 50 knots, about 2,000 to 3,000 feet above the surface. So they're probably going to issue some more downstream warnings, they're saying. So not what you want to hear, obviously, but they think it would be necessary. The weather service there in Tallahassee. So that's kind of the storyline right now there. As we're just getting past 5 o'clock, I do see a 1-inch hail indicator popping up now in Decatur County as well. So let's go ahead and kind of pause this here. You can kind of zoom on in with me here, and you can see that we're starting to get a little bit of development as we get a lot more of a recent type of view. So maybe some smaller hail in the Bainbridge, maybe not quite an inch, but definitely could be a little bit of an issue for those folks in Decatur County. I know this wind, yeah, those winds are starting to pick back up again right in Donaldsonville now, folks. Right over Donaldsonville. Let's go to our analyst computer. I know we got a few different monitors we're juggling, a few different sources we're juggling here, but this wind right now shows upwards of about 58 miles an hour. Right there around Donaldsonville, 59 miles an hour coming right into town on US 84 right now. This is where the worst of it is as of about 1 minute ago, so it's probably right getting into town now. Could get some trees knocked down and the like. It seems like this doesn't want to quit here. It doesn't want to break down enough. I know, unfortunately, as we're looking toward this area of Seminole County, 58 mile an hour wind potentially moving on into the picture there. So just got to be cognizant of that as we continue to watch things. I'll go ahead and zoom back out a little bit. Looking down here, you see Bainbridge, you see Reynoldsville, you see Chattahoochee, and then there's an area here. As I'll go ahead and move this down a little bit more so, an area here of wind that could be closer to 62 miles an hour now. So again, it just doesn't want to give up. This just doesn't want to give up here, unfortunately. So I know Bainbridge was trying to say maybe some hail coming in there, and it might be on this area right here. I mean, our other system is showing it a lot more firmly than this is. It's not really showing it here, to be quite honest. So kind of an odd situation in that regard. Kind of an odd situation here in that regard, but I could just be trying to develop here or just southwest of town, really. Maybe just as you're trying to head into town on State Road 97. Again, I just continue to watch things here in the Weather Center, just trying to give you the very latest on what's happening here in the Weather Center. Again, it's all about protecting you, all about protecting your friends, and all about protecting your family here this afternoon. So just efforting some of the latest details here on what's going on. We're just going to go ahead and try to stick with things here as long as it takes to keep everybody safe and informed. So I'm just trying to detail everything the best I can here and check all our different sources. So really though, let's get back down here. I know, looking at some different areas here. You see Faceville, some winds there, moving on into your community. Moving in toward your community there. You see Jameson maybe later on in the Gadsden County. Some of these stronger winds, and again, these warnings may have to be extended Hopefully these storms will fall apart ultimately. Eventually this wind will probably kind of be able to diminish if the actual core to the storms aren't strong enough. That one in the north looks like might have a chance of holding on a little bit longer around Donaldsonville because it's a little bit stronger core. But you can see the wind seems to have strengthened. It went right through Donaldsonville over the last few moments in parts of our area, parts of Seminole County. So, not what you want to see, obviously. And they're giving us an update here. So, okay, they canceled Seminole and Jackson out of this warning, but obviously this warning here is where we have Donaldsonville here under a threat. So, again, just gonna have to continue to watch things. Iron City next in line. Forward SEC, I probably have to extend it. This is gonna head toward the Decatur County Airport here in a little bit. Brinson, though, in between. As we're watching things, so just gotta be cognizant of what's going on. Just gotta continue to monitor things here in the Weather Center as we're trying to give you guys all those latest updates. You don't want folks here that aren't really paying attention here to be unaware. You want them to be aware, and you want them to make sure they don't. You want to make sure they don't get injured here or worse in these type of situations. So make sure everybody stays safe. But again, looking at things right now, in the war parts of southern Decatur County, winds about 55 miles an hour here. Moving toward Georgia 302. These winds here, though, again, looking like they're over 60 miles an hour. So that's a problematic situation, obviously. We're moving right down. It looks like US 84 right now. And that latest scan has it taking it more into Bainbridge. So at this point, I'm pretty confident the Weather Service would want to extend this one. This one here, they have a little more time. Maybe it'll weaken down enough. Core isn't as strong. There's not as much lightning here either. Not that that's a direct correlation sometimes between severity, but in this type of situation, I feel like that could indicate the core is a little bit weaker here. It could always change rapidly on us, but again, looking back up toward the north here, as we look up toward Donaldsonville, this warning technically goes until 5:15, so they're about ready to probably have to extend this, unfortunately, down toward Bainbridge, Decatur County Industrial Air Park, and Bainbridge proper. That overall region, you can kind of see how we're tracking it. So just giving you guys a heads up. Hopefully this will kind of fall apart. We're seeing winds to 64 miles an hour now on that leading edge. So as we go ahead and zoom back out a little, I see there's a significant weather advisory closer to the coast down here. This is for parts of Taylor County. Gets to 50 miles an hour now. Possibility. We're on the wrong reader to give you a real good look at that, but we'll keep our eyes on the situation. But we just got a new warning now for portions of Decatur and Seminole until 5:45 as we expected here. This is pushing on down here towards some areas further toward the south and the east. So again, a new yellow box popping on up into our computer system right now. And it says taken into Bainbridge. You can see here where we're tracking it. We're tracking this scenario. So let me go and read you the box off, the details on it. So at 5:07, a severe thunderstorm was located over Donaldsonville, moving southeast at 40 miles an hour. Central Decatur, northern Seminole counties, and southwestern Georgia, included until 5:45. Donaldsonville, Bainbridge, West Bainbridge, Iron City, Climax, Brinson, Hanover, over toward Reynoldsville. Also getting there toward Davis Park, Little Hope, Decatur County Airport, Faceville, Fowlestown, Riverton, Donaldsonville Airport, of course, being impacted now with some of these threats. So again, that's kind of storyline there. I'm just looking at some of our METAR information. Don't have a site report coming out of Donaldsonville, but we have one in Decatur County. Hopefully by then it'll either miss that area, miss the more populated areas and more areas where it could cause impact. So we don't get a report or the weekend. But if it does somehow get there toward this site here, then we would get some type of number on this winds here. If this was more up here, seem more likely. Latest scan seems like it's pushing a little bit further south with that. So that's kind of your storyline there. Because as we were looking, it seems as if kind of I want to pinpoint this a little bit further south now. But I mean, the worst of this could still get right toward Brinson there, and maybe end toward Bainbridge. I mean, this direction is a little bit a little bit subject to change here, as we've alluded to, but again, just continuing to watch things here in the weather center, trying to give you guys the very latest here on this active pattern. It doesn't want to quit. This doesn't want to relent. It doesn't want to ease up here toward portions of our viewing area. So let me go ahead and remind you guys of what is our viewing area at this point. I think that'd be a good time to pull out our coverage map. So let's go ahead and do that here at this moment. You can see we have warnings right now. I know you've noted on our maps, and then I'll correlate to this graphic now. So we're in Bradford County. No warnings are in Bradford County, and Stark is highlighted because that's where we were at. But with the warnings in play, we have Decatur and Seminole till 5:45, Gadsden and Decatur, portions of those counties till 5:30, and early Miller and Seminole at about 5:15. So this got a gust of 41 in Donaldsonville. That's a little lower maybe than what you would expect, but it's possible one part of town could be getting a higher gust than another part of town. So 41 miles an hour was reported on an ambient weather station at 5:05. So that's just coming in the local storm report there. As we go back on over here, just trying to let you guys know here the overall wind situation on this Sunday across our viewing circle. So I know the watch only goes for less than another hour, so hopefully that'll be a sign here based on the overall guidance and the like that things are really starting to diminish as we get later on in the evening. But things have been so unpredictable lately, you can't count your chickens before they hatch here. At this point, I guess would be the right expression to use, because I mean, with this type of setup, things are still uncertain to some degree. So let's go ahead and keep watching. Again, we're going to have more rounds tomorrow, so stay weather aware. Today's risk further off to the east is marginal, 1 out of 5. I know there's an enhanced risk further out toward the west, though. We'll have to watch for more action later on in the timeline. You see Jackson, Mississippi, Shreveport, Louisiana, under this, Greenville, Mississippi as well. Just giving you guys an idea. And then further out, you see these 100-degree readings as we get out towards central Texas there. You kind of get the idea what's going on toward the Texas-Mexico border even. Just kind of seeing this really hot temperatures and some of this surging on up into areas that are without electricity. I know it'll be even more prominent tomorrow as we look here with the heat wave situation. So a troubling scenario here with folks still without electricity. Again, continuing to watch. I know even more folks could lose electricity here later on. But those that have already lost it, Louisiana, Mississippi, I mean, it could even do more damage to what's already been damaged. So not great. But let's go ahead and continue to track things here. I know, looking real quick with this up in toward like Missouri. There is some shower action, more lighting areas. Looks like towards St. Louis. Nothing severe up there right now, but I thought I'd look at that real quick. Let's go ahead and go back down toward the south, though. Again, trying to give you guys the very latest here. Your infrared satellite. That's not the best view of that. Let's try a meso. Is this going to be on this meso? Or do I have to go to this? Okay, I have to go to the whole U.S. view. So we were on some different views for Oklahoma last night. So I have to switch some stuff around again because we've been jumping back and forth here at times. More about our local concerns, obviously, but just kind of jumping back around a little bit. But I know, looking northwest at Camilla, there are some colder cloud tops on our scan there, which is kind of interesting. I'll have to watch that then. It's kind of interesting. It looks like it's maybe more significant up there. It could be a sign of something. I don't know. It'll depend on the velocity more than anything, though. We have some type of issue trying to rise around there. I don't see a lot on it, but there's a little bit there moving in toward Mitchell County, so I'll keep our eyes on it. I'm just thinking and keeping our eyes on stuff here. And speaking of that, we'll be wanting to watch things like this lightning here in Taylor County. You can see, look at this storm about 9 miles east of it, a rogue strike. That's always kind of scary when you get a rogue strike like that, folks. You get a rogue strike like that because people are trying to enjoy their Father's Day. Even as we look here, I put in a more sensitive mode. 6 miles toward the east here is where that strike is. So you're still trying to enjoy that day for a little longer, and that rogue strike comes along, and Hopefully it just gets you to go in the house and not, and it didn't actually strike you, but or maybe it's just cloud to cloud. We're getting lucky in that regard, but just it's always concerning to see that. But going back to the broad perspective right now, going back to the broad perspective here at this point in time, we're just trying to give you guys the very latest here, give you guys the very latest on what's going on. And there's something else to kind of point out here. Would be it would be the situation over Tulsa last night. I know with the power outages there and all the damage. I know it's going to be a interesting situation tonight as the Oral Roberts baseball team plays in the College World Series in Omaha, because I was kind of thinking about what type of damage was at home there toward their areas in eastern Oklahoma, so toward their campus. So kind of see it might give them a little bit of a boost there on the field tonight, but it may have had an impact on Friday. I know for the Gators when they were playing against TCU there, or excuse me, against Virginia there. Friday they were playing against Virginia there, and they ended up getting that win. I know they had storms around Gainesville Friday morning, so not to that level they had around Tulsa though, but he's maybe hearing about it to some extent. Even Gilchrist County, a little bit worse. One of the top players from Gilchrist County there, so I know toward the north of Trenton around Bell, they had some really nasty wind issues there from the storms that were around. So again, just continuing to watch things here in the Weather Center right now. We're getting an update on the chat update details at this point. They're probably going to cancel the warning for Gadsden, Decatur, the one separate polygon that extends further south. So, well, okay, wait a minute, they're saying they're changing their mind again. Let's see here. They sent something out, and 1 minute later they're sending another update. So they were saying they're probably going to cancel it, and the storms are falling apart more, but the environment is still favorable ahead of the storms. But then they're saying that they send it out. The storm just east of Bainbridge decided to perk up, so they're just going to cancel the Gadsden part of the warning. So that's Bainbridge area here. A separate storm out ahead. I think it's a little bit stronger. So let's go ahead and see what radar do we want to go to. Probably need to go to Tallahassee radar at this point, as it dives a little bit further down toward the south. So again, we're just going to go ahead and continue to look at things here in the Weather Center. Continue to give you guys the latest on what's going on with our Doppler radar scans, our Doppler algorithms. I know we've been talking day after day after day about severe storms, but I wouldn't come on if I didn't think these were dangerous situations here to some extent. I know some of the storms here that were kind of more random earlier in the week, we ended up just posting about them there on Facebook and Twitter. We've done that in some of these instances, even yesterday. If they didn't justify me coming on, I wasn't coming on. Obviously, they were required to come on for all tornado warning storms within our 62 counties. And we've done that here again this week, as we've been doing since late 2019 for all those that have moved through a part of our 62 counties here with that rotational signature. So, again, that's where we are with the coverage map. But there's your stuff here. Again, just trying to give you guys the very latest on what's going on. We'll come back over to this mode. Try to give you guys more details here. Seems like some of the velocities here in this area, they're saying it's perking up a little, so they're gonna keep the warning in play as we're looking further on, but they're gonna cancel the Gadsden part more than likely, it seems. Looks like on reflectivity, still kind of getting more disorganized. The velocity here is indicative of winds closer to 50, and some of these areas where I'm using my mouse, I mean, this area right here, it seems like things are becoming a little more scattered, which hopefully is a good sign here. Hopefully is a good sign, but again, we'll continue to watch things and hope we'll be back into a situation where we don't have any more warnings here for the rest of the day, or if there are warnings that are in play, we won't have to maybe on for them because they're not quite as significant looking on our Doppler algorithms. But we had all this histories, all that history, I should say, of reports back to the west end of this storm in Taylor County is kind of getting a little bit stronger. They had a heck of a overnight period Thursday night and a Friday morning. A 40-mile-an-hour wind center up right now, velocity nothing like what we had with those debris signatures and tornadoes touching down there back about, I guess at this point it would be about 60 hours ago or so. But again, continuing to watch things here. I know we got a report of a gust of 49 miles an hour, 1 mile north of Donaldsonville on the Georgia Weather Network, University of Georgia Weather Network at 5:05. So not quite the severe limit. Hopefully that's a sign that things are looking a little bit better here. And if we continue to see the trends that I've been seeing here over the last little bit, I might feel a little bit better about wrapping this on up. But again, we're getting a few pattern items indicator. Kenny 509 customers in the dark. 197 there in Mitchell County with that electricity, and then in Florida, I don't see too many yet here that are noteworthy. So we'll just keep on looking at things. Obviously, continue to keep on looking at things here in the Weather Center as we provide you the latest information to protect you, your friends, and your family. So again, trying to give you guys the very latest here. Trying to make sure you guys know exactly what is going on here in the Weather Center. So again, I thank you for your trust here on this Sunday. Got to keep almost checking the calendar for what day it is here at this point. It is the 18th of the month. It's been on for so many days in a row, having to keep an eye on things. It is Father's Day. Tomorrow is Juneteenth there on this holiday weekend as we continue to look at things here in the Weather Center. So again, you can see here, or west there in windward climax. We're seeing some wind, but it seems to be more diffuse here at this point. It's more diffuse here at this point as we're looking at things in the Weather Center, which would be a good sign. A good sign here as we're monitoring the scenario, as we're trying to keep everybody informed out there with what's going on. So again, I'm just checking some more information. Just checking some more information here. Bear with me. Again, we're this hour here on this Sunday that is getting us closer to about 5:30 or so. That time rolling around here pretty soon. The significant advisory, by the way, in Georgia is for winds gusts up to 50 miles an hour. So we'll continue to watch things to see if they kind of strengthen there to some degree, but hopefully not. The storm in Taylor County, again, it looks like winds there actually are getting a little bit stronger, a little over 40 now. So it's going to move into word Boyd there. So we'll just continue to watch things, continue to monitor. I know in the chat they're saying the other storms are similar indicator are weakening, so I'll be able to cancel the severe there soon. So hopefully we'll be able to see that one expire to maybe at 5:30. That's kind of what we're seeing at this point, and the other one go maybe here get canceled soon too. That'd be a positive trend. And I see that gust there in the 30 range at the airport in Decatur County. It seems to me few issues, but these storms and these winds are not as strong as they were earlier on. Again, that'd be a positive step here in the right direction at this point. So we'll just continue to watch things. I know we're trying to keep up with all the model guidance, and just all the overall scenario details, but it's a one-man band, so at this point in time, it's just with so many days in a row of a threat, a little bit unusual not to be able to dive into our guidance as much. It's about pretty much watching the storms, being able to track them to the best of our ability, and then getting some sleep and come back again the next day or later that day, depending on if there's more than one round. So makes things kind of tricky here, but we're trying to do our best we can to protect you, your friends, and your family. So while I'm looking at this, I don't have it on this source that I can pop it up for you guys to see, but I'm just going to go to our latest ERRR run and kind of read off what we're seeing as things can continue to change. Our latest extended run, I looked at it a little while ago, but just kind of want to make sure since we're able to get past the current round here pretty soon, hopefully, as it doesn't really show too much the rest of the evening. It doesn't even show what's on the board now, though, which is always concerning when the models don't even pick up what's on the board now. But it shows another round here of storms, maybe arriving here around maybe a little after sunrise on that Monday, and then maybe getting a squall line across south central Georgia around noon, possibly, with some severe winds not out of the question, but this could always change maybe moving across southeast Georgia about 2, 3 o'clock, and then some other pop-up stuff that could get severe. And then maybe another squall line forming by about 4 or 5 o'clock there around Albany. And then it puts us south and tries to hang together a little bit more formidably as we get all the way to about midnight or so. And then maybe having some more stuff try to redevelop there in the overnight that could be a little bit strong. And then maybe a little bit of a break there to begin Tuesday, and then and in the early afternoon. So you never know what could happen though, but that's just an idea of one general line of thinking here at this point. So, again, we're trying to keep you guys safe and informed. If we do indeed have a situation arise here, we're able to wrap this up here pretty soon. Again, I just want to remind you the platforms that we're on here: Facebook, Casey Cloud, Everybody Acts Cloud Weather, Twitter at Cloud Casey. You're at YouTube there. I'm at YouTube here to be able to, you can watch there at Cloud Weather. Make sure if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button. Then you have Twitch there, Cloud Weather. You have cloudweather.com. I know all the different links are available there in terms of our live coverage. So that's kind of helpful to think about here too. At least one per platform there that is on that home page. And then we have the interactive radar tab there with that. You can click on that word radar there and get into that page where you can zoom around some of the different storms to get the very latest information. I know the auto alert account there on Twitter too is helpful. It says you different alerts in Tallahassee and Jacksonville County warning areas, and some of those Tallahassee ones especially, those are going to be just outside of our covered area, but still, those are helpful to kind of get an idea of maybe what's coming, and there's no way to exclude them. We just have to do it like that. We don't have Levy on there, but we add Levy in as we need to manually pretty much on that one, as that's the only one not covered by Tampa. I didn't want to add a third with a service line of warnings in there, but that we have 61 of the 62 counties we cover are covered by either Jacksonville or Tallahassee. The only one that we don't have covered by those two offices is Levy County, where Cedar Key is, and that's covered by Tampa. But I know when we put this together a few years ago, we thought it was really important to make sure Levy County was covered because they're an underserved area. I mean, our coverage isn't good down there, but it's still very vulnerable. I mean, the severe weather threats had some better outages yesterday with some really stronger storms coming through, and then you can always get hurricanes down there. We've had our share of systems in the past. I mean, just thinking back here, I mean, you even had, I mean, not too long ago, a tropical storm come across there, parts of the Gulf Coast that was noteworthy there in terms of Elsa. But then we've had other scenarios here, other situations here, where we've had hurricanes toward the 1800s, So, again, that's something to keep in mind here as well. And always that storm surge threat could just be really big down there. And speaking of areas here that maybe get overlooked here in terms of big impacts, looking back at late 1800s in the tropics. I know we're kind of going on a little bit of a tangent here, but late 1800s here in the tropics, Camden and Glenn County really had some big time problems, and they're overdue. We wrote an article about that on cloudweather.com going back a few years, so something to keep in mind as well. As we're getting some more good news here, folks. Getting some more good news, really good news. Is we just got both of our yellow boxes really quickly there to go away on our Doppler radar scan, on our Doppler radar sources here. They just canceled the one for parts of Decatur and Seminole, and then the one for Decatur that was still on the they're expiring that out. It's heading to be there for a minute. It just doesn't show up on the map anymore. Things are looking better now. Still don't want to let your guard down, though. I know we still have some other storms that we're monitoring here in the weather center. You can see as we look out toward Perry, could still get to 50, but the latest scan, I know that's sounding a little bit stronger. I may need to switch that over to a different direct center because these are shifting in a little bit different way. Let me do it like this. So yeah, that looks like wind there. That's not too substantial, but not getting close to severe at this point. But maybe a 50 there, possible over on Northern Taylor. Still couldn't write a severe warning down there. But then as we look further up to the north, let me do something here. I'm going to bend this up real quick. I want to make sure we're kind of back to the storm motion and to check our information on this. And you can see some winds there, maybe 30, 40 to the east here, but they definitely look like they really lost their steam here at this point, which is kind of what you'd expect. based on the overall reflectivity we were noting on them. They were kind of just holding on to that wind, trying to transport that down to the surface. Parts of Ben Hill County here, seeing a little bit of wind there, maybe, and then that's moving it. Also, you see this outside in Wilcox County there, a little bit of a threat too. So we're gonna keep our eyes on things, but I think that's gonna wrap it up for the time being. Again, thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me. That's the Fifth Thunderstorm Watch. So it's going that pink to about 6. I don't think they're going to extend that at this point. May still get a couple more rogue warnings. If we need to cut in for them, we will. Obviously, if there's tornado warnings, that's kind of on a low side here, a low threat at this point. But if there's any tornado warnings, we'll always obviously cut in to protect you, your friends, and your family. And Fifth Thunderstorm warnings, we'll use our discretion, more organized, more likely to impact metro areas there. We'll probably be cutting on in. That's generally the rule of thumb. Not always, but kind of using our discretion there. But Facebook there and Twitter will post the warnings if we don't need to cut in. So just so you guys know, that's for our 62 counties in terms of severe thunderstorm warnings there, or maybe flash flood warning that gets issued. That's probably not as big of a threat today as it could be tomorrow. That brings up another good point. As we look into tomorrow, we may start to have more of a flood threat again, because today we haven't seen as much. We haven't seen as much rainfall on many spots. Looking maybe an inch or 2 or 3 out toward this area here in this purple. This is west of Colquitt there, and then another area northwestern Marion has picked up quite a bit here too, about 3 inches last 12 hours. But for the most part, we haven't seen too much rain today. Tomorrow's gonna be about more in the way of storms, more in the way of rainfall here. So just something to keep in mind here. In the Weather Center, we'll have to keep it all in mind here for you as we try to give you guys the very latest. So, again, I think that's going to wrap it up for now. Thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me here on this Sunday. Have a happy Father's Day. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud.